right, with the Biden administration poised to issue new guidance that would allow more federal government employees than ever to keep working from home, employers everywhere are now weighing whether or not they can push employees to physically return to work. And of course, we got to ask, is it legal? Let's bring in our legal eagles, criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool and attorney Brian Rotella. We've got two Brians with us tonight, two brains, and ready to go on this very important question. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
So I read something last week that said something like 10% of workers, I may be wrong on this, were like super excited to go back to work, but like 80+% of CEOs and executives wanted their people to get back to work. So I know that this is a question that's already playing out for a lot of people. The EEOC guidance on this back in 2020, December of 2020, talked about people and working from home and accommodations. They say a request after the workplace reopens to continue telework as a reasonable accommodation does not have to be granted if it requires continuing to excuse the employee from performing an essential function. Brian Rotella, we'll start with you on that.
Well, Shannon, this is a legal minefield right now. I'm sure my fellow Brian would agree. I'm experiencing this in my practice every day. These questions are coming up. And the bottom line question that I think you're getting at is whether it's legal, whether you can require an employee to work from home. It is legal, but it doesn't mean it's not risky. And the issue that we're finding, especially as the fog of war is kind of lifting from out of the pandemic, where everybody went and returned to or worked from home, is what do you do now when you're trying to bring people back, and do you bring them back safely? What I mean by that is security. What if somebody's working with really highly personal stuff like HR stuff on the Wi-Fi that can be logged into by the guy next door or at the coffee shop? Those are the types of risks that our employers right now are saying, well, wait a minute, should we bring that person back? Should they stay at home or otherwise?
So I want to read something from Recode in April. The headline, just because you can work from home doesn't mean you'll be allowed to. It says the vast majority of employees, 89%, say they want to be allowed to work remotely some or all of the time. 1 in 4 employees say they might quit their jobs after the pandemic, mostly because they want to look for work with greater flexibility. So Brian Claypool, we know that there are millions of jobs out there and employers who say they cannot get them filled. They can't entice people to come back to work just to be rejoining the workplace at all. Now we're trying to get people out of their homes and back into the workplace. I mean, are employers going to have to be more flexible and give the employees more of what they want? Because it's kind of a market for those employees to shop around for something they like better.
I don't really think so. I mean, I wonder how first responders are feeling. I wonder how, hospital workers are feeling. I wonder how the firemen are feeling with people complaining now that they have to actually go back in the office. I mean, there are two types of laws, Shannon, in our country. The first is what we call case law. There isn't going to be any case law on this issue. What that means is somebody appeals a decision by a judge, goes up to the Supreme Court, that's the law. This issue is novel, like Brian said, so we're not going to have any guidance on what's called case law, but there is a little bit of statutory law that favors the employer. Statutory law is what legislators have promulgated. What I mean by that is Title VII to the Civil Rights Act, 1964. It protects 7 classes. One of those classes it doesn't protect, though, is a worker who wants to work from home, a remote worker. That's not a protected class. And the other one, real quick, is what's called an at-will employee. Most states have a law in place that says unless you have a written contract that says you can be terminated for cause and disciplined for cause, you're basically at the mercy, Shannon, of the employer. The employer can pretty much do what he or she wants to you, and that includes forcing you to come into the office or you risk losing your job.
Quickly, Brian Rotella, how quickly do you think we end up getting some case law on this? I got to imagine it's already close to litigation, if not there.
Oh, these cases are in the court. The #1 cases through the pandemic have been employment cases. And just piggybacking on what Brian just said, when does work stop when you work from home? That's the cases that we're seeing, Shannon, the on the clock, off the clock. My concern is, and I know that the Biden administration is pushing some things around this, is this might become the Trial Lawyers Relief Act with the type of lawsuits that we are going to see coming from this.
Yeah. All right, Brian, thank you very much for your expertise. Keep us up to date because we know these are going to keep percolating. Great to see you both.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.